if they can get in where it's English, wherever it is Jordan, that somehow they've made an extra Jordan, that somehow they've made an extra step to be part of the royal family.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's latest overseas appearance, this time in Jordan, has sparked fresh controversy, with critics questioning both the purpose and protocol of the visit. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex were photographed at refugee camps and medical facilities during a trip reportedly linked to engagements associated with the World Health Organization. Images of the couple interacting with children and humanitarian workers quickly circulated across international media outlets. However, what might have been framed purely as a charitable visit has instead ignited debate over legitimacy and diplomatic boundaries. This marks the third high-profile international trip undertaken by the Sussexes in recent months, following earlier visits to Nigeria and Colombia. Supporters describe these tours as independent humanitarian outreach under their Archewell banner. Critics, meanwhile, argue that the format structured high-visibility engagements, coordinated press coverage, resembles official royal tours. Despite the couple stepping back from senior royal duties in 2020, the controversy deepened after reports indicated that Jordan's royal leadership did not formally receive the son. King Abdullah II, whose family maintains long-standing ties with the British monarchy, did not publicly meet the couple during their visit. Observers noted that Jordan holds particular personal significance for Catherine, Princess of Wales, who spent part of her childhood there, and for Prince William, who has conducted official engagements in the region. Adding to the scrutiny, reports emerged that the UK's Foreign Office had distanced itself from the visit, emphasizing that the Sussexes were acting as private citizens and were not representing the British government or the Crown. That clarification has become central to the unfolding discussion. Where exactly is the line between private philanthropy and unofficial diplomacy? Further debate followed claims that the couple attended an IFT gathering at the British ambassador's residence, and questions were raised in political circles about whether their presence had been formally arranged. Former UK Minister Tim Loughton publicly described the optics as inappropriate, arguing that diplomatic venues must avoid blurring distinctions between working royals and private individuals. Critics contend that such appearances risk creating confusion about constitutional roles. Supporters counter that, as British citizens engaged in global charity work, the Sussexes are free to attend international events when invited by organizers connected to humanitarian initiatives. Funding has also resurfaced as a talking point. Since leaving their official royal roles, Harry and Meghan no longer receive taxpayer support from the sovereign grant. Their philanthropic and travel activities are understood to be financed privately, including through Archewell-related initiatives. However, transparency advocates continue to question how high-cost international travel, security, and accommodations are structured and funded. Beyond protocol, the trip has reignited familiar narratives about rivalry within the royal family. Some commentators suggest that the Jordan visit, occurring shortly after Prince William's Middle East engagement, risks being interpreted through the lens of comparison. Others dismiss that framing as speculative and driven by media amplification rather than coordinated intent. Meanwhile, attention remains fixed on the broader context. King Charles III, currently undergoing cancer treatment, faces ongoing strain from multiple royal controversies. While Buckingham Palace has not publicly addressed the Jordan visit, the silence underscores the clear institutional separation between the Sussexes' activities and official royal duties. As debate continues, one central question persists. Are these international visits a legitimate evolution of independent global advocacy, or do they risk complicating diplomatic clarity at a sensitive moment for the monarchy? The diplomatic sensitivity surrounding the Jordan visit intensified after reports suggested that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex attended an iftar reception at the British ambassador's residence in Amman, an event marking the traditional breaking of the fast during Ramadan. The gathering, hosted by the UK's ambassador to Jordan, was intended for members of the local community and diplomatic circle. However, controversy emerged when questions were raised in Westminster about whether Prince Harry and Meghan had been formally invited in an official capacity. The UK Foreign Office later clarified that the Sussexes were not representing the British government and were attending strictly as private individuals. That distinction, while procedural, carries significant constitutional weight. In Britain's constitutional framework, only working members of the royal family conduct official overseas engagements on behalf of the state. Since stepping back from senior royal duties in 2020, Harry and Meghan no longer perform those functions. Their status as private citizens means they cannot formally represent the crown, a point officials are keen to reinforce to avoid diplomatic confusion. Former Conservative Minister Tim Loughton was among those who publicly questioned the optics of the situation. describing the attendance at a diplomatic residence as inappropriate given the Sussexes' current non-official status. Others in political circles argued that such appearances risk blurring the line between personal philanthropy and state representation. Supporters of the couple, however, point out that private individuals, including high-profile public figures, routinely attend embassy events around the world. They argue that attending a community reception does not constitute diplomatic representation, and that the backlash reflects heightened sensitivity surrounding the Sussex brand rather than any procedural breach. The Jordanian dimension adds further complexity. The Hashemite monarchy maintains close ties with the British royal household. King Abdullah II has long-standing diplomatic and personal connections with King Charles III, as well as with Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales. Catherine's early childhood years in Jordan have been well documented, and the Prince and Princess of Wales have previously visited the country both officially and privately. Against that backdrop, the absence of any publicly confirmed meeting between the Sussexes and Jordan's royal leadership has been widely interpreted as deliberate. While no official explanation was offered, diplomatic analysts note that monarchies are typically cautious about engagements that could complicate relations with allied royal households. The situation has reignited a broader debate about half-in, half-out royal status, an arrangement reportedly proposed during early negotiations following the Sussexes' departure from frontline duties. Buckingham Palace rejected that hybrid model at the time, insisting that royal representation must be clearly defined. Yet the Sussexes' international visits continue to invite comparison with traditional royal tours. Structured itineraries, high-profile venues, coordinated press images, and humanitarian themes mirror elements of official engagements. Critics argue this creates ambiguity, while supporters insist it reflects modern philanthropy in a global media age. At the same time, questions persist about how such tours are financed and organized. Archewell, the couple's foundation, has served as the umbrella for many of their initiatives. While the organization operates independently, transparency advocates argue that clarity around funding sources helps prevent speculation, particularly when overseas travel intersects with diplomatic venues. Ultimately, the Jordan episode underscores how even private travel by former senior royals carries outsized political symbolism. In a monarchy defined by constitutional boundaries and soft power diplomacy, perception often matters as much as protocol. Beyond the diplomatic questions, the Jordan visit has also revived scrutiny of the Sussexes' broader international strategy, particularly how their humanitarian branding intersects with media exposure and geopolitical sensitivities. During the trip, Prince Harry and Meghan were photographed visiting refugee communities and hospital units, including facilities assisting displaced families. The engagements were described as part of a coordinated effort linked to global health and humanitarian outreach initiatives associated with the World Health Organization. Images showed the couple speaking with aid workers, sitting with children, and touring medical wards. Supporters argue that such visibility brings attention to underreported crises. Jordan hosts one of the largest refugee populations per capita in the world, largely due to regional instability. International advocacy groups frequently rely on high-profile figures to amplify funding appeals and humanitarian messaging. However, critics question whether the Sussexes' presence meaningfully advances those causes or primarily generates media coverage centered on the couple themselves. The debate is not new. Since launching their post-royal philanthropic platform under Archewell, Harry and Meghan have sought to position themselves as global advocates, operating independently of Buckingham Palace. Each overseas visit has been framed as mission-driven rather than ceremonial, yet perception remains a powerful force. Media analysts note that the format of these trips, formal schedules, security details, press photography, visually resembles official royal tours. Even without formal state backing, the optics evoke monarchy. That resemblance, some argue, fuels confusion about constitutional roles, particularly when engagements occur in politically sensitive regions. Complicating matters further are unverified claims, circulating in parts of the British press that individuals connected to controversial political groups were present at certain public events during the trip. No official confirmation has substantiated those allegations, and neither the Sussexes nor their representatives have commented on such reports. Nonetheless, the mere suggestion underscores how quickly humanitarian appearances can become entangled in regional politics. Jordan itself occupies a delicate geopolitical position. Balancing Western alliances with regional dynamics, its monarchy maintains close ties with London, and diplomatic observers emphasize that royal engagements, official or unofficial, are carefully calibrated in such contexts. The decision by King Abdullah II not to hold a public meeting with the Sussexes has therefore been widely interpreted as a cautious move to avoid diplomatic ambiguity. Meanwhile, comparisons with Prince William have resurfaced in commentary. Just weeks earlier, William undertook an official Middle East engagement, framed explicitly within UK diplomatic priorities. As heir to the throne, his visits are coordinated closely with the Foreign Office and local governments. The structural difference between that model and the Sussexes' independent outreach lies at the heart of current criticism. From a communications standpoint, experts say the Sussexes face a dual challenge: maintaining visibility without appearing to compete institutionally with the monarchy. Their global profile, amplified by media partnerships, streaming deals, and publishing ventures, ensures that any international activity attracts immediate scrutiny. Funding transparency also remains part of the public conversation. Since stepping back from senior duties, Harry and Meghan no longer receive support from the sovereign grant. Their travel and security arrangements are privately financed. Archewell's financial filings outline charitable disbursements and operational expenses. But critics argue that high-profile overseas engagements inevitably prompt questions about cost versus measurable humanitarian impact. At the same time, defenders point out that celebrity-driven philanthropy has long operated within similar frameworks. High-visibility figures often combine advocacy, branding, and fundraising. The late Diana, Princess of Wales, demonstrated how symbolic gestures such as visiting landmine victims could transform global awareness campaigns. Whether Harry and Meghan can replicate that sustained impact remains an open question. The broader issue may ultimately be one of narrative control. Buckingham Palace has consistently emphasized institutional clarity. Working royals represent the crown. Others operate independently. The Sussexes, by contrast, appear to be crafting a hybrid identity, neither entirely detached from royal heritage nor formally integrated within it. As debate intensifies, the Jordan visit illustrates how humanitarian outreach, diplomacy, media branding, and royal legacy now intersect in complex ways. In an era where optics travel faster than official statements, every overseas appearance carries layered implications not just for the but for the monarchy they once represented. As debate over the Jordan visit continues, the episode highlights a deeper and more enduring issue: the unresolved tension between royal legacy and independent reinvention. Nearly 4 years after stepping back from frontline duties, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle remain globally recognizable figures whose actions inevitably intersect with the institution they left behind. At the center of the discussion is constitutional clarity. Buckingham Palace has consistently maintained a firm boundary. Only working members of the royal family represent the crown in official capacities. Since 2020, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have operated outside that framework. Yet their titles, global profile, and history within the monarchy mean that international appearances are rarely perceived as purely private. This structural ambiguity fuels much of the controversy. When the couple visits refugee camps, attends diplomatic receptions, or engages with international agencies such as the World Health Organization, the optics inevitably resemble royal soft power. Even if no official endorsement exists, the symbolism can create diplomatic sensitivities, particularly in countries with close ties to the British crown. Jordan is one such nation. The Hashemite monarchy's relationship with the UK is long-standing, and King Abdullah II maintains warm ties with King Charles III and the Prince and Princess of Wales. Against that backdrop, the absence of a formal meeting between Jordan's leadership and the Sussexes spoke volumes without requiring an official statement. Meanwhile, the British government's reported move to clarify that the visit was unofficial underscores a broader institutional priority: preventing confusion about representation. In constitutional monarchies, diplomacy operates on defined channels. Even unintended blurring of those lines can generate political friction. Beyond protocol lies the question of impact. Are these tours achieving measurable humanitarian outcomes? Archewell's stated mission focuses on community uplift, mental health, digital safety, and global equity. Supporters argue that raising awareness, particularly through high-profile imagery, remains a legitimate form of advocacy. In an era driven by visual storytelling, presence can amplify causes that struggle for international attention. Skeptics, however, question sustainability. They point to what they see as episodic visibility rather than long-term programmatic engagement. Unlike traditional royal patronages, often built over decades, the Sussexes' international appearances have been concentrated in media. Whether that model can evolve into sustained influence remains to be seen. At the same time, the broader royal context cannot be ignored. King Charles III is currently undergoing cancer treatment, and public attention remains focused on stability within the monarchy. Controversies involving other family members, including Prince Andrew, have already placed reputational strain on the institution. In that environment, parallel global tours by a former senior royal inevitably draw scrutiny. For Prince William, the distinction is clear. His engagements are coordinated with government departments and framed within Britain's diplomatic priorities. The Sussexes' initiatives, by contrast, operate within a private philanthropic model. The coexistence of those two approaches, one institutional, one independent, continues to generate public debate. Ultimately, the Jordan visit may be remembered less for the events themselves, and more for what it reveals about the evolving nature of monarchy in the 21st century. Titles, media, diplomacy, and celebrity now intersect in ways that traditional royal structures were not designed to accommodate. For Harry and Meghan, the path forward likely depends on sharpening that distinction, clearly defining their global advocacy without inviting confusion about constitutional roles. For the monarchy, the challenge remains maintaining institutional clarity while managing familial complexity. As international headlines move on, one reality endures in the modern media era. Even private initiatives by former royals carry public consequences.